When I joined Edge, I was actually asked to do the Edge strategy, and I've worked on that over the years with my folk, and we've ended up with a 3-page strategy, and our guiding principles are 1 page long, and they're very powerful because we've coalesced them right down to the really important stuff as far as we're concerned. But the nice thing about it, and I like saying this about strategy, is you actually want strategy walking around in the heads of the key people in the organization. So you actually want them to remember your key strategic goals, you want them to remember your vision, you want them to remember your key strategies. It should be walking around in everyone's head. But you won't get that if you have too complex a document, too drawn out a thing. And firms sometimes get surprised when I say to them, look guys, we've got to actually summarize this thing right down to the nitty-gritty and have a short document. And they sort of sometimes wonder perhaps why they're paying all this money and ending up with a very short document. But we emphasize that it's the stuff that goes before, it's the stuff that goes during, it's the stuff that comes afterwards that actually gets the results and produces the value. It's not just that long-winded document. Also, what we do see a lot is not enough time, energy, and budget, frankly, is left to actually ensure implementation after the strategy document is completed. And for these various reasons I've touched on, people get worn down and there's just not enough energy left and interest left afterwards to get this thing done and get it implemented. Sometimes there's too much focus on the dollar as well. And there's a feeling in the firm, this is the way to make more money, we need a strategy, let's make some more dollars or more profit out of the strategy. And usually that's not a good objective in a strategy. It's an outcome, it's a consequence of doing a whole lot of other things really well. And if you do, I can absolutely assure you, you will get the results, absolutely no doubt. But too much focus on the dollar. And when I say on the dollar, I'm not just talking about income, I'm talking about expense as well. And in some jurisdictions around the world, there's an absolute fetish on expense, which is very unfortunate. My old jurisdiction that I grew up in Africa, in southern Africa, has that problem at the moment. All the larger firms focus on expense almost exclusively, and it's very dangerous for a profession. But what are we trying to achieve internally? Before we look at a little bit more detail about what comes before your strategy, during your strategy, and perhaps after it, what are we trying to focus on and achieve internally amongst, say, our partner group? Let's start with them. What are we trying to achieve? Trying to get people to think strategically, think strategy, get involved, start understanding what it's about, what it's not about, what you're trying to achieve, where you're going, how it all knits together. Because it's very much about alignment. All the bits sort of have to fit together. Things are not done in isolation. A strategy doesn't just sit out here on its own. It's not this magic bullet that's going to achieve things. It's actually got to align with everything else in the organization, as I hope will become clear as I chat further. You're trying to ensure that every partner, every senior manager, and every key person knows that one piece or two pieces or three pieces that they've got to actually do to help with the strategy and make the strategy work. So everyone needs to know what their role is. So that red bit there, or a couple of red bits maybe for some of us who've got bigger jobs as far as the strategy is concerned, need to be clear. You want people to be sharing thinking around the strategy, getting involved, and basically work our way through the maze, because it's a bit of a maze for most practitioners and folk in a firm usually. What is the strategy about? Where are we going? What do I have to do? What does our team have to do? You're trying to help them in that regard and give them some clarity. There's a pivotal role here for leadership, not just from the managing partner. As we've all experienced from law firms, leadership is not just about the managing partner, it's about leadership in the different practice areas, industry sector groups. It's about support services leadership as well. And it's critically important to have the right sort of leadership in place. And that's what we're trying to achieve through our strategy as well, because strategy forces you, in fact, to look at your leadership in the different parts of the organization too.